Greetings to you all, and I welcome you to this broadcast. Thank you so much for joining us. Impromptu, but quite necessary. As you join the broadcast, please indicate to me whether you hear me clearly and also see me clearly. There's a very critical matter for us to discuss this evening, as we'll be speaking to a release from GECOM, where the symbol for the Forward Guyana movement has been tagged TBD, which essentially is unapproved. Hence the question, has a symbol been rejected? You saw today that there was what I consider to be a very critical, necessary, and timely announcement of an agreement made among three political movements or parties: Forward Guyana, the People's Movement, and VPAP. And at that forum, we discussed we announced to all our intention to work together, collaborate in a healthy coalition, a healthy partnership, in which we essentially will seek to have the integrity and decency, propriety restored to all aspects of our lives as Guyanese. The ebullience, the joy, the celebration would have been quite significant. And there aren't many people, actually, I met no one in that room and very few online who would not have been equally overjoyed to see that three young people, I can call myself that, three young individuals, more so two males and a female, we were prepared to work in the best interest of Guyana. Today, July 1st, to apparently put what I might call, being cliche, a damper on today's event. We were met with a press conference, or a press release, I should say, not conference. Material release to the press that our symbol, the wheel, is not accepted or doesn't meet the standard set by GECOM, this wheel. I have with me in studio leader of Forward Guyana, MP Amanza Walton Desir, as well as the leader of VPAP, the chairman, Mr. Darwin Bess. And we shall have discussions tonight about this symbol that GECOM, the Guyana Elections Commission, claims fails to meet their standard, a standard that was never announced or made known to anyone. We'll get into that discussion. This symbol does not meet the standard that GECOM has set for symbols being accepted in this electoral process. I would like to welcome to this platform a brother and a sister, that's how I always see them to be, who share in this movement, Forward Guyana movement. We all would be able to express tonight freely our thoughts. We'll discuss certain realities. And from the representative, the one who represents us in reference to communication with GECOM, our sister Amanza, would inform us about how she was made aware of this and also what interaction she would have had with GECOM on our behalf. So permit me to welcome them at this time, because you want to get right into this discussion. Of course, you should know who Darwin Bess is, since there's only one female. So it's not difficult to determine who we are. All right. you have you have a handsome young man, there's a young man, and then we have we have our dear sister. So welcome to this broadcast. Thank you so much for recognizing both of you the need for us to do this, and for all of us, we always agree essentially to what matters most, which is the interests of our Guyanese people. So starting with you, my sister, Amanza, would you please inform us about this development and essentially your thoughts?
Well, thank you, Nigel. I see somebody is saying they need you to turn up your sound.
Oh, sure, no problem.
Yes.
If you ask
So
a pigeon
thank
to be
you.
loud, it's trouble.
Thank you all. So about an hour ago, we noticed the press release from News Source, Gordon Mosley's press outfit, in which a chart with a notification from GECOM about the status of symbols. And I noticed that Forward Guyana movement has been flagged as TBD. So, of course, up until this afternoon at 5 o'clock, we were checking our emails to make sure that there was no correspondence from GCOM because, of course, yesterday was the deadline that GCOM has provided that they will communicate any issues with symbols. Obviously, we had the issue of symbols draw national attention when I think the Wind team had a problem with their Jaguar, and of course, one would have expected that if there was an issue, that it would have been communicated to us within the time span allocated by GCOM. So, having seen this, I immediately sprang into action, and after a number of tries, I was able to get on to the DCO because I said to him, as of 8:30 this evening, I I'm not in receipt of any correspondence from GCOM to to notify us that there was an issue with our symbol, but we are seeing this in the public domain, and of course, expressing my dismay because, of course, I've been inundated with over 40 calls in the last hour asking, so our symbol has not been approved, our symbol has not been approved, and the anxiety that it has caused. And so he explained to me, of course, he apologized profusely and indicated that he was unaware that a press release had not gone out, but they're in the process of writing to us to indicate what the issues are with the logo. And that is to say that they have a problem with the Forward Guyana sign, uh, with our symbol in the wheel, and they have a problem with the people's movement because they do not want anything affecting the outline of the map. Now, mind you, the people's movement has had an approved symbol from the last local government election. Of course, the Forward Guyana symbol, which is a bridge leading to this new Guyana, great and free, is of recent vintage. And so it appears as though GCOM is making this up as it goes along and is there are clearly problems there because I do not understand for the life of me how a public release could go out and the parties, and this should essentially be a private issue between GCOM and the parties, so that one would expect that GCOM would write to us, indicate that these are the concerns, we have them addressed, and then we move forward. But to release this the evening of a launch that was so well received by the people of Guyana suggests to me that this is an attempt to put a damper on the events of today, and it is irresponsible, it is prejudicial, and it has caused a lot of anxiety. And I have since written to GCOM in those terms because GCOM must understand that it has a duty to facilitate free, fair, and transparent processes as well leading up to the elections. And certainly, this is not acceptable. It seems to me that there's a disconnect in the system, that The PR people are working on their own time. The CEO is working on his own time, and there is no coordination within that body. And so it calls into question seriously their preparation for these upcoming elections.
And Amanza, I know I'm certain that the audience can sense the expected emotion that is attached to the situation and more so the seriousness of it. So for my sake, I normally tell people I'm on the slow side of the gene pool. So for my sake and those who like me, I'd be grateful if you indulge my having repeat certain things after you hear from Don. It has to be clear to people the extremity and what I would consider to be the insanity involved in this decision making. It maybe before we end this broadcast, I'll make sense of it. I doubt I would, but I'll try my best to do so. We have our brother Darwin here with us, who, and this is where it shows again how interrelated our system of functioning is, where VPAC has withdrawn a symbol, but the symbol is within the the logo of or the symbol of of Forward Guyana movement. Now, there was no objection to VPAC's symbol, but nonetheless, it's affected all of us in reference to how we function. And I'm certain that Darwin would speak to the the unprincipled and unethical conduct involved in this situation. So, Darwin, we'd love to hear from you, and then we'll have a more intense discussion, I'm sure, regarding this matter.
So, good night to you and your viewers, and I'm happy to be here with both of you. Amanza, if you recall, and we can share this so the viewer can also be aware, when we submit our symbol, we submit it as an independent party, and we were instructed at that time that there's no need for us to submit our symbol once we're going as a coalition. Do you remember that, Mail?
Mm-hmm.
So it's clear that that GECOM were ready to communicate not with just us, but with all of us, because we were exchanging mails back and forth. So if there's an issue, I find it to be very coincident that the day that we had a launch is the day that they find to send us a message outlining that there's something wrong. I don't know if it's going to be too ambitious for me to say, but this in any other world is what you call political interference.
Well, Darwin, we want to send a message. So let's be clear. We were not sent a message. We
I am
discovered,
aware.
right? We discovered, and that's the part I find to be, I'm trying my best to find the nicest of terms to use here. It is unimaginable for me to believe that when the people's movement, I put our symbol up here for the sake of discussion. This very symbol, as you heard Amanza would have spoken to, was used in the local government elections. This symbol was accepted. Results were published in Region 3, where we contested that this group got X number of votes. This very symbol. Now, I trust the fact that Amanza, who's of course an attorney by profession, would not come to sit before us tonight as a nation and be facetious or be mendacious, lying in any way, or making fun of this. For me to believe that GECOM would say that this symbol, now, this symbol here, which is within or part of a whole, is an issue because somehow the map of Guyana is obscured. You cannot see it clearly. This is frightening to think that these people are responsible for conducting such a sensitive election, one that most people believe would be, as they call, the mother of all. I thought 2020 was bad, but this one is the mother of mothers. And to think that anyone in GECOM cannot recognize what this looks like. And how could you not see that the people of Guyana, as you say, we are 6 people, holding the nation, holding the map, we are supporting Guyana. We are essentially saying that Guyana is ours and we're going to carry the weight of our nation. So if there's any issue with Venezuela border issue, the 6 people are saying that we are going to uphold our nation. This is a symbol that's meant to really display that Guyanese are standing for their nation, the integrity, the sovereignty, the well-being of our nation. How could GECOM seek to interpret for us what we mean to interpret when we have a right to freedom of expression? This is an expression of patriotism, and more so it says Guyana, Guyanese for Guyana, united for freedom. How in the world can they misinterpret or fail to even seek to interpret what is being uh, told or expressed in this symbol? Amanza, as I ask of you,
I think
please indulge us.
no, I listen. I It is apparent that GCOM is making this up as they go along. It is apparent that they have no guidelines as it relates to symbols, and like I said, it is extremely disturbing to us, to the people who support us, to the Guyanese who are excited about this, because we're now being inundated with questions. My grouse is that we have not yet received official notification from GCOM as to what is wrong. I had a conversation with the DCO by phone, but we have not yet received official written communication. We have an idea what the problem is, but to have to learn about it from a press release is discomforting. It is disquieting, and it says to us that GCOM is not ready for the election.
So,
GCOM is not
can we?
ready for the election.
No. Is it okay for me to show them an excerpt, show all the viewers what really we were informed or how we were informed?
Yes, please.
Okay, sure. So this is from Gordon Mosley, another trusted journalist, a true journalist, by the way. News source, statement from GCOM on approved party symbols. This is just an extra part of it. The Guyana Elections Commission, GCOM, has approved 19 of 22 symbols submitted by political parties to contest in the upcoming general and regional elections. This is our paragraph. However, final approval of the remaining 3 symbols would be subject to minor modifications, the nature of which is in the process of being communicated to them. This is a press release, a part of a press release. I submitted, I think on the 7th or so of June, somewhere around there, the People's Movement symbol. Not because I wanted to do it. It's just I said, well, it's already in the database. Let me just go within the 20-day period to see what response I'll get from GCOM. So it was submitted. They acknowledged the receipt of that symbol. I honestly thought that it would have been just routine. We in the database already, contested in local government elections, so there's no problem. When Forward Guyana Movement and VPAC would have submitted their symbols, no problem again, because I thought you had more than enough time, or they had, to make certain assessments. Now, this is where I have a serious grief or issue with GECOM. From the 3rd of June to the 23rd of June would be about 20 days. Within that time frame, they should have been observing symbols that were being submitted and taking note of any potential issues that may arise. And they're after communicating with the representatives, say, you know what, I've noticed that you have a jaguar here. That might be a problem. You have a map that's a bit obscured. None of that was said. I don't know if you received any communication since then. Now, the 23rd of June, then they give from the 23rd of June to today, another 6 days, almost 1 month, GCOM had to get information to us regarding a symbol. How could this even make sense? Darwin and Amanza. How could this make sense that almost 1 month would pass? Then GCOM issues a press release.
I would
And
say
this.
that I would say that in the to be fair, Forward Guyana is a very recent vintage, and so I certainly would not have had the month that you would have had. Now, again, the issue for me is there appears to be a communication problem in GCOM. There appears to be the cart going before the horse. There is no way that the public should be notified that a symbol has an issue and the representatives of that party with GCOM have no idea. that this is even an issue. No idea whatsoever. And that is the crux of the grounds that I have. To do this causes anxiety, it causes tremendous worry, and it undermines further GECOM's credibility. It
No,
undermines further GECOM's credibility. I would have expected that one would have at least received a call to say, look, we have an issue. We will be writing you shortly. XYZ is the case, particularly because it appears as though there are only 3 parties that have an issue. So you're not calling an entire list of people, 3 persons, before the close of business today at 4:30 to say, look, there's an issue here. We are pending notification. No, the PR people put out a press statement and now have members and supporters and well-wishers of Forward Guyana movement in anxiety. For me, I am confident that it is something that will be resolved because I await official response to my communication that I sent off tonight, asking for us to be told what the issue is. And we, of course, will work with GECOM to resolve it. But we cannot miss the point, and I think this is, the point that Nigel is driving home, that there seems to be a level of ad hocracy going on here, because your logo has been in the system since the last local government election, approved, used on a ballot, but now it is a problem. GECOM has to be aware that this type of attitude, this type of approach to this thing is undermining the credibility of the body and their ability to superintend free and fair elections. It smacks of a deliberateness that one cannot ignore.
I must say that. Darwin, your thoughts?
I was I was actually surfing the net, and the reason I was doing that earlier this evening, I actually saw a statement from GECOM, but I don't remember it highlighting these 3 names being unapproved. Because I actually was very excited to see that we were approved. But it wasn't one of the bigger sites. It's one of those. So that's why I was sitting there. You can notice my head is down because I was going through my the web, because I'm certain I saw earlier. So I'm wondering if this is something that is a glitch that just came after the fact.
But I'm wondering who made the decision. So we can
But
discuss that. Who in GECOM would have made the decision that this symbol, and I love it so much, and people love it as well. I keep putting this on the screen to the chagrin of many, I guess. What the issue?
but
Who could
Nigel,
make a decision?
how do
Go
we
ahead.
go from it? How did we go from it being approved for local government to it not being approved? I mean, are they 2 GECOMs or 1? Amanza, you can answer that
I
question.
couldn't answer, but I know the commission meets and they decide on the symbols.
So
And
who meets to approve it for local government?
the commission,
The
from my
Everything is
understanding of the process. So this is the point that we are making, and I don't wish to belabor it. What I wish GECOM to understand is that this has caused anxiety. It further complicates your image and your ability to superintend these elections properly. It casts doubt on your readiness to have these elections. And so we look forward to receiving official communication
So
on what
if
needs to be adjusted and what has to be adjusted. I will hasten to say that there does not appear to be a problem with the wheel of itself, but these 2 symbols with the map of Guyana may be the cause of some concern.
But if I'm to ask Amanza, you being a legal mind, we're to assume that when they issued an objection to the Jaguar, didn't they realize then that there was other objection that they could have notified all the other parties?
Well, this is the point that I'm making. And because June 30th was the cutoff date by which you would have been notified of modifications or any adjustments that needed to be made
Because if any guy,
when it,
any
when
right,
it
any,
passed without communication from them.
you would
You would
assume
that
everything is okay.
there was no issue. And then earlier in the day, there was a smaller news outlet that published a list of approved symbols, and then later this evening, you see a
That's the one.
list
That's the one
come
I
out
saw.
from GECOM. So it's a little discomforting, but I am confident that we are going to prevail.
I
We
believe
are
all
not
of.
by this, and this movement is going to grow and grow and grow. It's but it was important that we come on here and let people know, because Nigel's phone is ringing off the hook, my phone is ringing off the hook,
And same here.
Robin's phone is ringing off the hook. So we wanted to come on here and to let the public understand exactly what is happening and exactly where we are. So if by 10 o'clock tomorrow morning we are not in receipt of correspondence as to exactly what has to happen and how it is to be addressed, we will come on here again and let the public know. Because
But what's, yeah,
this
I agree.
opacity and this lack of information is unacceptable.
Because as
And
of today, Nigel, I would want to believe that every Guyanese would have thought the only problem GECOM had was the Jaguar.
I was about to say that, and which is why I put this on the screen for you all to see. That it made the news that we invest in nationhood, number 3 on the list, is approved. Now, this is after the leader said the symbol is the jaguar. He said that. It was said at the announcement. And then GECOM said, no, you can't use. He said, well, it's a leopard. Approved. We have got a ballot on which those who would like to vote would simply see a wheel with little symbols within it that they cannot even discern carefully, because the ballot isn't printed in huge images like this. It's little things. So GCAM has begun to nitpick, or someone within that system, to say, you know what, let's frustrate this new party some more. Let's do the Jaguars has made it. Here comes a collation of some degree of health and sobriety, propriety, people of class and standard. So the feedback may be a bit too loud for us. Let's just say that we've changed our mind. There's a problem with this symbol. Send them back to do something without even speaking to us. And so we are here, as Amanza said, to voice what is considered to be logical concerns, and also express frustration with the fact that there is a body constitutionally empowered to superintend elections in Guyana. GECOM is not a cake shop, rum shop business. The Constitution empowers these people to function in a particular manner. And it is my view, my humble view, that it is being abused. They're dysfunctional, if you ask me, because the least that could have been done. As a teacher, this coming out of me now as one who taught in education for 18 years. I was in education for that long. The most simple thing to do is to guide people instead of saying you're wrong. Guidance is critical. And this has nothing, as far as I'm concerned, nothing more than mischief and disrespect attached to it. Because if somebody, in reference to our representative in Amanza, to call, to ask what's going on, and then say, well, we intended to speak to you at some point. I hope I can rest tonight. I doubt I would. But hopefully we'll have some degree of common sense tomorrow, Amanza and Darwin, to guide our decision making. We must reiterate that we're not saying that we're unprepared to do what the Guyana Election Commission may require of us. But who knows that when we do that, somebody else may not have a bright idea. And that doesn't work either. So our flags, our banners, our T-shirts, or paraphernalia for elections, we have to just keep telling the printers, hold on, we have something else to do here. When would this end? So I really appreciate you being here. And I will ask you not a yes or no question, but you can speak to whether you believe. I've heard it before, but for my sake, I'm a little slow, so just help me here. Do you believe that the Guyana Election Commission is prepared to conduct or have supervision over this very, very critical election period, more so September 1st?
It appears to me that they don't. These have been observations that I've made in the National Assembly as it relates to the work plan, as it relates to the prejudice that smaller parties are likely to suffer in these upcoming elections. And I'm also very mindful that us speaking out here could subject us to further and a particular scrutiny, because that is the system that we live in. If you speak out, you are um, pinpointed for special attention. But we have a duty to let the people know what's happening, because you're damned if you do, you're damned if you
And if you
don't.
don't,
If you don't say something, oh, y'all didn't say anything all along. And if you do say something, GECOM then could very well, the machinery could very well then be used against you to make your journey as onerous a one as possible.
Yeah.
And this is the very thing that this movement is dedicated to fighting. So we will comply with the legal and lawful requirements, as Nigel has been at pains to reiterate, but we will also keep the people of Guyana informed every step of the way as to what is happening and where we are with certain things. Like I said, we await the correspondence. We're optimistic that this is something that we could collaborate with GECOM on, but we are very, very upset about the fact that we had to learn about this um, in the public domain when nothing like this was communicated, when it ought to have been a process where GECOM and us were working this out, and they could then say these are the approved symbols. But to put out a list and then flag it, it's really, really has caused a lot of anxiety and angst. And so we will further update tomorrow once we receive correspondence on what the adjustments are that we are required to make.
Thank you. Darwin, do you think GECOM is ready?
well, Nigel, and I think we've had this discussion over and over and over. No, absolutely not. I believe the government is in panic mode. They call it a snap election, and they're trying to scramble their way through from now to the election day. And I'm just hoping that good sense prevail.
Thank you so much. And I'd like to leave you with a more pleasant image. What a day. What a moment.
It was quite a day.
They're trying to ruin the excitement.
I guess my expression was looking at GECOM as it says side and saying, now what you coming with next? But I'm thankful.
And then I'll try tonight to say it's 3-0 parties. I didn't realize that he decides who vote and who doesn't.
I like that. I love it. Hence we get the attention we do.
I did not
Thank you
realize
so
he
much.
decides who vote and who don't. But the people will prove him wrong.
Much love to you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
We'll be in touch. Viewers,
All right.
thank you all so
Good
much.
one.
Look forward to
God
it.
Thank
bless us.
Do well.
God bless
Yes,
you.
thanks. So there you have it. After such an interesting day, encouraging day, rich day, this is what we face. Nonetheless, we press on. Put your shoulder to the wheel and let's work. Thank you all so much.